wonderful world.
Thank you, our esteemed listeners, for the vote of confidence in iRadio's brand as an independent broadcaster of news and information. Your vote of confidence has inspired our reporters and journalists to commit to the dissemination of accurate, verifiable, and credible news and programming to inform, educate, and entertain. As a result, iRadio's content has reached over 17 million people on Facebook, according to Facebook metrics for the last 3 years, a number larger than the population of South Sudan. Thank you for your continued feedback. For detailed news analysis, please check iRadio's website www.iradio.org and subscribe to or like iRadio's YouTube channel to get all our latest videos. iRadio, your eye on South Sudan.
Fly Ontime Aviation Science Academy presents to you Talk to Aviation Experts radio program, a program that feeds you with the aviation general knowledge that you need to know about the aviation industry. Talk to Aviation Experts comes to you every Saturday at 3 p.m. on air and online, only on iRadio, your eye on South Sudan. Fly Ontime Aviation Science Academy, where the journey starts.
Okay, good evening to all our listeners and also those who are watching us live on Facebook. I welcome you all to Talk to Aviation Experts program, and this program comes to you every Saturday from 3 to 4 p.m. and today happens to be 18th of November 2023. Our broadcast time is 3 minutes past the hour of 3. This program is brought to you by Fly Ontime Aviation Sciences Academy, and my name is Barry Johnson, and I have my co-host Cesar Gubang. Yes, and Fly Ontime Aviation Sciences Academy is located next to Mobile Roundabout. It's inside Techno Building, the 3rd floor. Today happens to be the 3rd edition of this very program, and we will be discussing about aerophobia, or in a simple language, the fear of flying. And in the studio, we have the real aviation experts with us, and we'll be discussing more about this. We have Captain K. Azaria. He happens to be the Director General of Safety and Standards in South Sudan Civil Aviation Authority. We also have Barry Lehman. He is the General Manager of Fly Ontime Aviation Services, and he's also an instructor for cabin crew in Fly Ontime Sciences Academy. You're all welcome to iRadio.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Cesar.
Okay, Barry, thank you very much. I would like to thank also everybody who are watching us live on Facebook and listening for us. Captain K, Barry, I would like to thank you very much for accepting our invitation.
Okay, and before, of course, we dive in to our topic of the day, we will, of course, would love to hear more about our guest in the studio. The listeners need to know more about you. So I'll give this chance first to Captain K. You're welcome.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and my greetings to all those who are listening to this program. It's an opportunity really to share with those who are enthusiastic in learning about aviation, and those who would like to endeavor in this field. I'm one of the person who from the beginning had a dream to become a pilot, and I had that chance when we were sent to Scotland to train as pilots. So we came back and we started to work with Sudan Airways, and after my experience with Sudan Airways, then I was able to go to work in Dubai with a company of Sheikh Zayed for 6 months. I came back and started work with Sun Air, and later I worked with Marsilan Aviation in Khartoum, and lastly I was a captain with Tarco Aviation Company in Khartoum.
Yes.
After my retirement, I joined the South Sudan Civil Aviation Authority as the Director General of Safety and Standards. So that has been my journey and my experience in life. Right now, I'm very pleased to be welcomed on this program and elaborate on some of my experiences. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, Barry, that's your chance. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Barrier, iRadio, Caesar Guban, Fly on Time, Aviation Sciences Academy. Happy to be here. My name is Barry Lehman. I'm the General Manager, Ontime Aviation Services. We are a ground handling company located at Juba International Airport. We also have facilities in WOW and capability in the region as well in terms of ground handling provision. I'm also an instructor at Fly on Time Aviation Sciences Academy, specifically cabin crew training, safety, quality management systems as well. I've been in the industry for now 23 years. Most of it was in in-flight services, which is what we are calling cabin crew here. I started at a young age of 20 years old, my flying career, and working in an airline, an international airline in Kenya, Kenya Airways, which is where I grew up the ranks from a flight attendant all the way to a flight purser, who is essentially a supervisor within an aircraft, operating aircraft like the Embraer 190, 170, the 737, 767, and I was also privileged to work in the Dreamliner, which is essentially the 787 aircraft. I've also spent quite some years in safety and quality, which is where I now focused mostly on the safety bit of it, of flying. I really enjoyed that period of time because it helped me understand much more why it's important to have safety within the industry, and also, of course, why cabin crew and even piloting is an important field. So I'm happy to be here and to go through this process as well.
Okay, thank you so much. لكل زول بيسمع لآيراديو في زمن ده، برحب بكم في برنامج اتكلم مع خبراء الطيران، والليلة ده ثالث أسبوع من برنامج ده. نحن هنمشي نتكلم عن خوف بتاع الطيران. احنا عندنا اكسبرتس أو خبراء في الاستديو هنا، ونحن هنتكلم كتير في الموضوع ده. حيكون عندك فرصة بعدين عشان تضرب تليفون وتسأل أي سؤال. إذا كمان أنت برضو كنت خايف أو يوم سافرت وحصل لك خوف برضو في رحلة بتاعك، أنت ممكن تشارك experience حقتك مع الضيوف في داخل الاستديو. Yes, Caesar?
I think before we go to aerophobia, I just need to ask Captain K, what inspiring you to become a pilot? People there want to know.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I was interested in flying because I was seeing the exhilarating feeling of being up there when I see an aircraft flying with its smoke. We used to call it smoke at the back, and I said, well, those are the privileged, and maybe the whites, they're the only people who are up there, but one day I hope I will be there. And that feeling translated into action when I was privileged now to hear that South Sudan government during the time of Abel Alier advertised for pilots to be trained, and I said, well, why can't I try and also attend the interview? Maybe I will pass it. And to my pleasure, I was one of the person who passed that interview, and I went to do that flying. So I was encouraged from that time on. That feeling that I wanted to fly one day came to pass, and I was so happy.
Yes.
For how long have you been in this industry? Because I saw you have a very good experience, Sudan US, until ending up in South Sudan Civil Aviation.
Yeah, I have been in the industry for 38 years.
Wow.
When I went for the training in Scotland, it was 1979, and I finished in 1980, December 1980. And as soon as we came back, I stayed for almost 5 years in South Sudan because we were sent as members of FIDA Airline, which was supposed to be managed by South Sudan, that is the autonomous government of South Sudan. Unfortunately, it did not actually materialize at that time, and we were seconded to go to Khartoum, and we joined Sudan Airways in 19 85.
Yes.
Very
Yes.
good. Very, as per the experience, most of people say cabin crew is for women.
Yeah.
How can you change that mindset? Because they say cabin crew is supposed to be, is designed for women.
For women, yes.
What aspiring you to go to that field?
Interesting question, as you said. It's a normal perception. It's a normal perception. There are perceptions that there are certain jobs are for certain people. Like people know saying nursing is for ladies. But nowadays you have nursing where men also join. Now traditionally, to be fair, most flight attendants were ladies in the past, to be very fair.
Yeah.
But as things changed, and more aspects of aviation also started transforming, more men started joining the field as well. So it moved from an air hostess perspective, so to speak, to in-flight services, where you're incorporating safety, you're incorporating quality aspects, but also customer care, where men could actually join. Now, for my case, I grew up in places where I saw aircrafts taking off and landing. Mombasa, close to the airport. When I moved to Kisumu, which is a different town in Kenya, close to the airport. When I came to Nairobi, still close to the airport. So it's a field I always interacted with and I always wanted to join. Once I was in the field itself, I really came to love it. It is not a job, so to speak, but it is something, it is a career which has a very significant role. Captain K is not just a pilot. He is in charge of ensuring that the 200 people he's carrying inside that cabin arrive in their destination safe. The person that is in that cabin as a cabin crew member, like myself, for instance, my role was not just moving from point A to point B, but I have a responsibility to ensure that they are going to their destination safe and sound. So it's a very big responsibility, and I grew up to love the job, so to speak.
Can you clarify, because some says that your role sometimes on board the aircraft is just to serve people. Do you have any role other than serving people, that water and drinks?
Absolutely. So there are three things that a cabin crew member is supposed to take care of, which is taking care of the comfort and the needs of the customer. Number two, taking care of safety of the customer. Number three, taking care of the security aspects of the customer. So what you get to interact with as a customer mostly is the service end of it, which is the taking care of your needs. So I'll serve you some tea, some coffee. If you need any help, you need me to move you around in the aircraft, I'll do that. But where, let's say you have a fire inside the aircraft, then I take off my customer care hat, I put on the safety hat, where now I'm a firefighter inside the aircraft. Let's say a lady is on board the aircraft and they're having a baby, they need to deliver. I am trained to be able to deliver that baby on board, because during that flight, if you do not get a doctor, you have to be able to go ahead and do it. Let's say you have a rude or rowdy passenger on board. As a cabin crew member, you're taken through safety skills to be able to secure that passenger so that they can be able to ensure that cabin is safe, secure for that client until you get to your destination.
Maria?
Okay, let's move on to the topic of today, which is aerophobia. I'll go back to Captain K. If you can explain to us in a layman language, what is aerophobia?
To be specific, aerophobia is a state of extreme fear in the air, or extreme fear of heights. The people, when they go up, they feel as if they are already in a losing situation and they would be falling from there and possibly to their death. So that is what it means, that people have extreme fear of heights or of flying when they're in the air, and once they see the ground is so far from them, and they feel like they are paralyzed and they become helpless in a way. or even they start developing some sicknesses, like others who develop vomiting as well. So these are the situations of people that have aerophobia in a way. So aerophobia is the extreme fear of heights.
Okay, yes, very.
If I may just add a little bit more as well. From a cabin crew perspective, the way we used to understand it in simple ways, aerophobia is simply a fear of flying or a fear of being inside that aircraft. Somebody can describe it as a closed tube, where if something happens in there in your mind, there's nowhere else to go. You are inside that enclosed space. It is an irrational fear, irrational in the sense there is no basis for it, but as a person who is experiencing that fear at that point in time, you do not know that. And that's why it's important as a crew member to be able to help that person who is going through that particular kind of fear at that time to understand what are the facts as they are taking place and what are those imaginations going through their mind, so that when they are able to reconcile the two, they can calm down a bit. Yeah.
Okay, Caesar.
I think Captain K, you mentioned something about fear. As human being, fear is part of us. As a pilot, skilled pilot, have you ever experienced aerophobia?
Yeah, basically when I started flying, that was one of the main problem that I had to overcome, because as soon as I left the ground, I felt as if I was now hanging in the air. And that feeling of helplessness, that you are unable to stop whatever is taking you up, generates a bit of fear. And that was what I experienced the first time I was taken up to what they call familiarization of flying, because you have got to be given some stalls where they allow the aircraft to fall like a stone from up, and they also subject the aircraft to some spins. They spin the aircraft, and then they subject the aircraft to steep turns where you see the ground as if it was sort of a mountain. So those maneuvers and the height that I was in made me so scared, and I said, well, I think I'm playing with fire here. And when I came back, I came out of that aircraft, I felt so light, and the first thing I had to do was to rush to my bed and start sleeping. I even missed my lunch that day. And I had to overcome that feeling some time, because when I looked around, I knew everybody must have gone through that experience. So that was what made me to get scared the first time I was in the air. But later on, I settled down and I convinced myself that I think this is what everybody went through to become a pilot.
Great. Very.
Thank you.
I think sometimes unexpected, foreseeable condition can happen on board. And it will result to all the passengers on board to experience aerophobia. As a cabin crew, are you going also through that experience?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's where the training comes in. I remember one of my very first flights, there's something called supernumerary. It's like familiarization flight, as Captain K explains.
Yes.
As a cabin crew member, you get to fly as a passenger, but essentially you are supposed to be experiencing the flying process.
Yes.
On that particular flight, we were on a 767 aircraft, and one engine failed. And it failed in such a violent way we knew something has just happened. What took place was later was to understand we had a bad strike and it affected the engine. Now, for my other fellow crew members who were experienced, it was a normal thing. Safety drills just kicked in. And for us who were new on that particular aircraft, we were asking ourselves, is this something we really want to get ourselves into? Yeah, because for that period that engine seized, there was a violent vibration, and for us as crew members, we know an engine just shut down, and we're just trying to reconcile this in our mind. To be very honest, it was a very scary experience for us. But later we were able to be taken through the experience debriefing to understand it is normal in aviation that from time to time you can have such mishaps. But aviation also has redundancies when it comes to most of its systems. In other words, the pilots can actually land that aircraft with just one engine safely by just following their procedures. So for me, that's one instance where I felt something really was out of place. Now, I have another interesting experience where I had learned from now the fear. We were traveling from Nairobi to a town called Kisumu. It's about 1 hour flight, and we had violent turbulence during that particular time. It was so bad that you could see passengers who were literally scared from the face. Now, they need to be able to see we are confident inside that aircraft for them to know there's nothing to worry about. So what did we do? We just had to walk into the cabin, let them see us. We are talking to them, there's nothing to worry about. We are going to turn back and go back to Nairobi until this turbulence clears, then we can take off and come back to Kisumu. And most of them, to be very honest, were calming down during that time.
Yes. Okay. Yes, Captain K, let's look at also the causes. What are the main causes of aerophobia?
To be honest, aerophobia is a bit of a mental problem that is enshrined in a person. If you have that thinking in your mind that it's dangerous for you to get into the air, then that thinking of yours is translated into your feelings. And those feelings, they get into your heart, and once they are in your heart, they will generate a fear of aerophobia, and it is there that you paralyze yourself in a way because of what you are thinking about. Because your capability, your thoughts are the causes of either your progress or your setback. So when you think about the negative of your flying, and then the fear comes in, and then that is something that will not make you to be able to move forward, or you may not even be able to get into an aircraft because you are already scared. I saw some children who, when they saw the aircraft alone, they start crying right from the ground. They start crying because they didn't want to go into the aircraft, because they have already a mindset that if they get into that aircraft, something bad is going to happen to them. So for the grown-ups, they keep it to their heart. They don't express it openly to other people. But when they get in there, it is when their feelings are expressed by their reactions. So it is, I think, a mental issue that people are born with, or it is what you are thinking about.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes,
Okay,
Caesar?
Captain K, apart from psychological factors, example, Barry said that one engine failure, and it's normal. I'm a passenger on board that aircraft, and I heard that there is one engine failure. Automatically, the thing that can come on my mind, we are going to crash. How can you assure that those are normal in situation like our colleague Barry said as a pilot?
Yeah, thank you for your question. First and foremost, we as pilots, after our graduation, we start flying bigger aircrafts, which are carrying passengers. And those passengers you are carrying with the planes that these days fly in the sky, these aircrafts have what we call redundancy. one engine alone is able to take off and fly this aircraft safely and land it in the nearest airport. So when you think about engines, or the engines of the aircraft, or the two engines, you have to know that when the aircraft is taking off or it's flying, it's using half of its power. The two engines are only working at half the power of those engines. But then when one engine fails, the other engine compensates the power of the lost engine. So the aircraft still will remain safely in the air, and it will fly, or it can even climb out at maybe 100 feet or 200 feet per minute to a safe height, and will be able to go to land in the nearest landing airport. So there is no fear that, or people should not think that once an engine fails, that is the end of everything. No, the aircraft is calculated in a way that once an engine fails during takeoff, that aircraft can climb safely and be able to return for a safe landing in that same airport.
Turbulence.
So yeah.
Turbulence, because sincerely speaking, the most disturbing conditions or situation on board the aircraft is the turbulence. What caused those turbulence? We will feel that the aircraft is just flying smoothly, again bounce. Okay, what caused that turbulence? Are you choosing a wrong route for us?
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting because a lot of people, they don't understand the dynamics in the air. When you are in the air, it is the same like on the ground. At times you go through rough roads. There are roads which are rough, and you find some turbulence even on the ground. In the air, we have routes that you go through, and through those routes, you will find at times the air is very clear. There is no sign of any cloud. So suddenly you find there is turbulence. That's what we call clear air turbulence. That turbulence is caused primarily by sudden change of wind direction and speed. When the wind changes direction and speed, you experience immediately that type of turbulence in the air. Similarly, when you go through clouds, especially heavy clouds, you also have that type of air movement within those clouds. And within that air movement, you will have winds going up and down, or changing direction and changing speed as well. So when you go through clouds, you experience that type of turbulence as well. And also, when you go through a layer of, or you go near a mountain, when you go near a mountain, you experience also that type of turbulence. Because when you are approaching the mountain, you should realize that the wind, when it is going towards the mountain, it finds it has no route to go through the mountain. So what happens? It rises up. And when it rises up, the air which is above it also rises up. And it becomes a layer after layer of rising air. So as soon as you hit this air which is rising up, immediately you will experience an updraft or a downdraft. And that also generates turbulence in a way. So these are some of the few examples of turbulence that you meet in the air. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Captain K. We'll go for a short commercial break, and then when we get back, our studio lines will be open for you if you have any questions, or if you would love to also share your experience with the experts in the studio. Stay tuned.
أكاديمية فلاي أون تايم لعلوم الطيران بيقدم لك البرنامج الإذاعي اتكلم مع خبراء الطيران. البرنامج ده بيزودك بكل المعلومات المهمة واللي انت بتحتاج تعرفه عن مجال الطيران. اتكلم مع خبراء الطيران بيجيكم كل يوم السبت الساعة 3 بالمساء على الهواء وعلى الإنترنت فقط على أي راديو. عينك على جنوب السودان. أكاديمية فلاي أون تايم لعلوم الطيران حيث تبدأ الرحلة.
I don't know really, but
Okay, welcome back from that commercial break. As I said earlier, our studio lines are open. Our numbers are 0911 0922 986 986. أرقامنا 092 091 986 986. أنت ممكن تتصل تليفون إذا أنت عندك أي سؤال أو أنت عاوز تشارك تجربة بتاعك مع خبراء بتاعة الطيران اللي معانا في داخل استديوهات اي راديو. هنا بنتكلم عن خوف بتاعة الطيران او ايروفوبيا باللغة الانجليزية. Let's go to the common symptoms that a passenger experiences when they have aerophobia. That is, let's hear from Captain K, then we come to Lamin.
Thank you again. Aerophobia, in a way, when you experience it, it can cause vomiting. That's one of the symbols of aerophobia. People, when they are in the air, that feeling of being scared also causes, convulsion of your intestines or movement of your intestines, and it causes that feeling of uneasiness and results in vomiting. One of the reasons that you can see somebody is scared is at times it can go to a point where that person start shivering, shivering, and is unable to look outside. Is unable to look outside, and even will not be able to talk to anybody, will not share his or her feelings to anybody. So you get withdrawn because you are fighting that feeling of aerophobia. The other thing is that you want to know where you are going, whether you are safe. So we had one of the footballer who was suffering like that, and we were going to Lubumbashi. We came from Khartoum and we were going to Lubumbashi, but he was so scared in the air that he could not sit at the back. So I had to call him and said, you come in front here and you see how safe this aircraft is taking you. So we brought him to the cockpit and he sat with us, and that's when he was able to calm himself down. So he was comfortable now, and we said, let him continue to sit on the jump seat, because that was the only way for his fear to be calmed in a way.
Yes.
So people have those different feelings. And I also had one of the businessmen. He was traveling from Khartoum to Port Sudan, and he was so scared, and he felt like, Captain, can I come and sit with you in the cockpit? I said, please, don't get scared. We are in control. So I reassured him and I said, please don't worry. I am the one who is the captain. So once you hear that I'm the captain, there's no problem. Everything is fine. So you just sit down. So he said, yes, I've heard about you. So thank you very much. So he sat actually in the first class, and he was a bit calmed down at that time. And when we took off, and then the aircraft was safely up, then I came and then I sat with him to reassure him that there is no need to fear, because I can come from the cockpit. My first officer is taking care of the aircraft, is going very nicely, and I came to reassure him in the first class. So those are the experiences I went through in my time when I was working with Tarco Aviation Services.
Okay, we have some calls online. Let's hear from the listeners. I read you. Hello, I read you. Okay, sorry about that. You can call us back on the same numbers. I read you.
Hello?
Yes, I read you.
مرحبا.
مساء الخير.
مساء النور. ايمانويل دارا من كوتور.
اتفضل ايمانويل.
هذا وجه تحت الكبات اللي اثنين ولا شو؟
في واحد كابتن وفي واحد مضيف.
واحد.
نعم.
بجد يعني عندنا في الجنوب السوداني هنا في دولتنا فطائرات في بلدنا ده ما في طائرات بجد يعني ما في طائرات يعني الطائرات اللي هسه قاعد يجيبوه في سماطرة بيتفقوا مع روسيين اللي هو اشاعات حتى الكرة بتاع الطيارات يعني في مطار جوبا الوقا قتل لنا ناس كتار طيارات بيجيبوا بالتهريب ده إجرام لما لقينا في الدولة بيجيبوا الطيارات بإجرام بدقوا في كونتينر ولا بيجيبوا شنو ما معروف.
نعم إيمانويل.
نعم
احنا قاعدين نتكلم عن خوف بتاع الطيران او ايروفوبيا.
ما فعلا صح هو الطيارات قلت لك بلدنا ده في الطيارات البسيطة الكويسين لكن باقي ده كلها يعني قاعد تشمر وقع وين في مولات وقع وين يعني عندنا خوف شديد يعني.
اوكي اورايت شكرا كثير. خلينا ندي فرصة لمستمع ثاني. اي راديو. اي راديو. نعم مرحب.
معكم وبالجون from Ring.
You're welcome.
How are you?
We are fine.
Fine.
Yes, you're welcome. Okay, I radio. Okay, you can call us back on the same number 0911-0922-986-986. Remember, we are discussing about aerophobia or the fear of flying. So if you would love to share your experience or if you have any questions concerning that, then you can call in and the experts in the studio will be able to answer you. Yes, Barry, Captain K mentioned about vomiting. Is it one of the common symptoms that the cabin crew experience with the passengers? But before you answer that, let's pick this call. I radio. Okay, we lost our caller. Yes, Barry, you're welcome.
Yes, actually, and that's why on most aircraft at the back of the seat you'll always find a seat bag, because probably historically it is expected when you're flying somebody will vomit. We will have that nausea. We were also trained to be able to look out for those symptoms. So one of the things that we used to notice, somebody is sweating, yet the cabin has AC, so to speak. It's cold, it's cool. Somebody having extreme sweat.
Yeah.
So probably they are entering a panic mode. Or somebody opening their seatbelt. Yeah. The captain mentioned at the heart of aerophobia is the fact that you have no control, and that's why that footballer or that businessman wants to go to the pilot so that they can see who is this person with the control. Probably they'll be able to say, okay, somebody is actually flying this aircraft. Yeah, so you feel like you have no control. You are seated there and you're watching that aircraft take off. You are seated there and watching that aircraft coming to the ground. So the sweating is there. Tension. You can see somebody is stiff. Probably if they are seated on their seat, they are pressing hard on the chair. Yeah, anxiety. Yeah, that's another symptom that we used to see quite a bit. The captain mentioned somebody asking you, where are we going? But also the common question used to be, when are we arriving? And they keep on asking that, when are we arriving? When are we arriving? Probably because it is a 30-minute flight, but for them it feels like an hour. We are not reaching. So they are anxious. They really want to get out of that aircraft. Yeah, so those are some of the symptoms we were able to notice.
Yes.
Yeah, of course there is other symptoms that are medical that I may not be able to elaborate, but from just physiology and just watching somebody, those were some of the telltale signs somebody is going through something we need to address inside the aircraft.
Okay, we have some calls online. I radio. Hello, I radio. I radio. Okay, you can call us back. Our numbers remains the same, 0911-0922-986-986. I radio.
Hello?
Yes, I radio.
Hi, كيف؟
أنا تمام. واسا بيت من راديو تاكي. Okay, I radio. Okay, if you're calling in, make sure you are a bit far from your radio or put off your radio so that we can listen to you very well. I radio.
Hello, I radio.
Yes, I radio.
مساء الخير.
مساء النور. واسا بيت من راديو تاكي.
اوكي.
تفضل. اسمك منو؟ ضارب من وين؟
معك أبجي تاني كورين
اتفضل.
برنامج شنو الليلة؟
اوكي انت بكوني ادوب فتحت الراديو بتاعك، فانت ممكن تسمع معنا وحيكون عندك فرصة تانية عشان تضرب تليفون. احنا قاعدين نتكلم عن خوف بتاع الطيران، وده برنامج بتاع يتكلم مع خبراء الطيران اللي بيجي كل يوم السبت من الساعة 3 لحد الساعة 4. راديو. Okay, let's go back to Captain K. You mentioned a businessman and a footballer who wanted to come and sit where the pilots are. So, do you think when a passenger see the pilot who is flying them, or just sitting where the pilot is, does it give them that comfort that they are safe?
Actually, when they see the person and you show confidence in your job, it is an assurance to the passenger that he's in safe hands. Because if the passenger is in a panic and you who is in charge is very confident and reassuring, then there's no that fear will start disappearing as far as is concerned. So it is reassuring to the passengers when you show confidence or when you talk to them in a situation that they may be in a shock or you are going through turbulence and people will start panicking. It is always good to talk to them. You lift up your mic and reassure them. Tell them this is the captain speaking. Everybody, we are going through ABCD. We are going through a bit of turbulence, but there's no panic, there's no fear. Everything is okay. This is normal in the air. At times, you need to go through it because it's not life-threatening. It is just a bit of turbulence, as when you go through rough roads at times on the ground, you experience such things. So don't worry, we shall be out of it soon. So they get reassured with that, and then secondly, you know, when you have time, once you are safe, you are away from the turbulence, come and reassure somebody who has that feeling. Come out, talk to him, tell him you have gone through a lot of experiences, but that this thing is nothing. Don't get scared, because in the air, people go, you know, traveling by air is even safer than traveling by land. There are less accidents up here. So what you are experiencing is just a bit of a touch of the thing, but because you are in the air, that fear of height makes you that maybe this is the end for yourself. So when you assure him that going by air is the safest way, and as you can see, there are less even accidents in the air. When you once in a while, maybe most of these airlines, once in a while, maybe once in a year, you find all over the world very few accidents. So that means there is better survival by traveling by air than by land.
Yes.
So the aircrafts that you are flying are getting improved every time. Whenever there is a malfunction in any system, there is always a way to research and improve that part of the aircraft. So the aircrafts are getting more and more equipped, and they are having a lot of redundancies, so that whenever there is a problem with one system, another system will kick in to replace the failed one. So there is more reassuring traveling by air than when you are traveling even by sea or by railway or by a car. So that is one of the advantage of traveling by air.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If you have just tuned in, you're listening to Talk to Aviation Expert program that comes to you every Saturday from 3 to 4. And today is the 3rd edition of this very program. My name is Barry Johnson, and I have Caesar Gubang as my co-host of the day. And we also have 2 experts in the studio. We have Captain K. Azaria. He's the Director General of Safety and Standards in South Sudan Civil Aviation Authority. We also have Barry Liman. He is the General Manager of Fly On Time Aviation Services, and he is also an instructor for cabin crew in Fly On Time Sciences Academy. We have a caller. iRadio. Hello, iRadio.
Hello.
Yes, iRadio. مرحب.
ألو.
ازاي بعيد من الراديو بتاعك؟
أنا زايد منك.
نعم اتفضل.
أنا برنامج كويس، برنامج مدوز بتاعك كيفية كويس.
قول لنا اسمك وتضارب من وين أول حاجة؟
ماركو من كوستي.
اتفضل ماركو.
البرنامج بتاعهم جميل شديد.
اوكي معلش ماركو انت ممكن ترجع تتصل قبل ما نحن نطلع من الاستديو. Our broadcast time is 47 minutes past the hour of 3. We are left with few minutes to be closing up the program. So before we move into how to overcome aerophobia, Barry, let me go back to you. And how do cabin crew, how do they handle passengers who are having that panic and who love to go, who will ask they want to go and see the pilot or sit where the pilot is? Before approaching the pilot, how do the cabin crew handle that?
Okay, very good question, and partly Captain K addressed. There is a communication bit of it. So part of your training is communication pre-flight, communication during the flight, and communication just when you're about to land and when you're on the ground. The purpose of that communication is not just service, but also a safety aspect of it. When we are preparing for our flight, myself, Captain Azaria, and the crew, we will have a briefing. And during that briefing, Captain Azaria is telling me or my crew that today we are going to have turbulence. If it's going to be severe, he will say, I'll put on the fasten seatbelt signs. I will expect the people to check that the seatbelts are fastened and make an announcement that the passengers must fasten their seatbelts. This allows us to be able also to make the same announcement and prepare the passengers. Now, before the takeoff, the crew perform what is called a cabin safety demonstration. That demonstration is meant to help the passenger understand we have systems in place within the aircraft to protect them. For instance, we'll tell them in case we have a ditching, which is a crash landing in water, you have a life vest under your seat. So for those who are worried if you are ditching or landing in water, how will I float? They already know there is something that can be able to use. We will help them know on board we have first aid kits, so that whoever is worried that if they are sick, how can they be helped, they can be assisted. But apart from that, if a passenger really needs to speak to the captain to help them calm down, nothing stops us from doing that. We had a flight where we were on ground because of a technical problem, and the passengers completely refused to move. We called the captain. The captain actually came into the cabin and spoke to them and essentially said, I have a family as well. If I felt it was not safe to take off, I would not take off. And after speaking to them, they calmed down and we were able to take off. So we use whichever means we can use to help these passengers relax, calm down, so that we can be able to fly them with ease.
Okay, thank you so much, Barry. Our time is almost. So let's look at how can passengers overcome this aerophobia. I'll give this chance to Captain K. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you again. First and foremost is to make sure awareness to most of our passengers is made. When the passengers know about flying, they have got some experience from other people, and they tell them that flying is actually very safe. Flying is very interesting, and flying is time saving. So the people will understand that if you go in the air, that plane is not going to fall down. Reassure them that after all, the aircraft is not going to fall down. We know that once you are in the air, there are forces that act on you. And those forces are the negative forces and the positive ones. When the aircraft is going up, you feel positive effect on your body. When it descends, you feel the negative effect. So those changes to others, once they start feeling the negative part of it, they feel like holding the aircraft not to go down.
Yes.
You know, that scary feeling that, well, I'm really sinking and I'm going down. So they feel as if that is the last thing, but it's not. Tell them that this is normal, the aircraft has got to come down and has got to land. So this effect is there. So people need to be informed. People need to know the effect of flying, whether it is going up or is going down, whether it is turning or it is not turning. All these things have no severe problem to your flying. So
okay, thank you, Captain K. We are left with 3 minutes. I'll also give you this chance to say your last message, and also just in 1 minute, what would you advise passengers and those who are listening right now, especially those who experience aerophobia? I'm also one of them. So what is your message to those who experience that?
One, I would say that aerophobia is not a permanent disease. Don't feel that it is something that is there and you are sick forever. No. It is something that you can overcome, and you overcome by being enlightened and informed about all the effects of flying and how safe flying is, so that you reassure yourself and you will be one of the person who will be enjoying flying, or you become a pilot one day and you start flying that machine by yourself. Okay. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Captain K. Barry, I will give you in less than 1 minute. What is your message? Being a cabin crew and you are very close to the passengers, what message would you tell those who are listening?
Okay, two things. Number one, the cabin crew, pilots as well. Let me just say the crew in general are there on that operations to ensure you have a safe flight. To ensure you have a safe flight. Number two, if you're looking at the most safest means of transport is aviation, please check the American National Safety Transport Administration data. It shows out of 38,000 fatal accidents, out of 38,000 trips of road, there was one accident. That is 1 in 38,000. If you look at the same year, 2019 IATA data on flights, out of 15 million flights, one accident.
Yes.
So you have one accident in 15 million flights. You have one accident in 7,000 trips. You can tell which is the safest means of transport.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's only because by the time that aircraft is taking off, a lot of checks and balances have been put in place to ensure that crew, passenger is safe on that trip.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Caesar.
Thank you, Barrier. I would like to thank once again Barry and Captain K, and hope to see you again in iRadio studio.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you to all those who have listened and those who watched live on Facebook. If you did not get a chance to call in or ask any question, you will be given a chance next week or the coming weeks. Remember, this program will be coming every Saturday, and every week we'll be discussing a different topic. It is brought to you by Fly On Time Aviation Sciences Academy. I was with you, Barry Johnson, and stay tuned for Zone 72 program with Donna Imanya, and of course continue listening to iRadio, your eye on South Sudan.
Fly On Time Aviation Science Academy presents to you Talk to Aviation Experts radio program, a program that feeds you with the aviation general knowledge that